Hey everybody, my name is Brian Weinstein. I'm a solutions consultant at Workato. We're a partner of Trundl's, and I'm so excited to be here. I'm here to talk to you about incident remediation and how you can use the power of the Workato platform, the integration and automation platform called Workato, to accelerate the incident remediation and make it much more effective and take those issues, those things that you track in Jira, and move them through the process faster. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Oh, and then one last thing is that if you do have questions, just put them in the chat. And I think the plan is to address those at the end. So feel free to drop them in the chat. And then at the end, when we have time, we'll go through and answer those as they come in. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a brief introduction on Workato and give some context into our background and the problems that we're trying to solve as a company. So a little bit about our company. So Workato's founding team built one of the original integration platforms at TIBCO, after lots of success there, they sort of sought out on a mission to make automation and integration much more widely accessible. Fast forwarding to today, we service currently over 11,000 customers across multiple industries, including SMBs in the mid-market, and of course in the enterprise. We also empower our users to achieve their automation goals with over 1,000 different service connectors and 500,000, geez, that's a huge number, 500,000 open source community automation workflows. So lots of customers, lots of connectors, lots of automations already built on the platform, very well established. And some of our partners include industry leaders such as Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce, and Slack, which really illustrates how Workato can be applied to a wide range of both tools and use cases. So Workato is a highly acclaimed industry leader, being named to Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Enterprise iPaaS for the past 4 years, and also being named the only customer's choice for Enterprise iPaaS in North America, according to Gartner's 2021 Voice of the Customer report. Those are both really interesting reports. Highly recommend you go seek them out, download them, read them. I think you get them through our website. Lots of really great information, not just about Workato, but about the iPaaS space in general and about where it's going and the technology behind it, things like that. So on to some of the key problems that Workato is helping our customers solve. The challenges of today's modern businesses are very complex and multifaceted, but they involve both technical processes. So those technical processes must be scalable, stable, and highly available to meet the increasing needs of customers. Along with that, core business processes and employee experiences must be robust and thoughtful to meet the needs of those employees, so at those companies. So for example, with the lockdowns and work from home becoming the norm, boosting employee morale and productivity is more important now than ever. In an increasingly disruptive and evolving market, business operations must be efficient and agile in order to stay competitive. And really, in the unprecedented age of COVID, post-COVID, solving for these challenges has become exponentially more difficult as your teams spread out. Automations become more and more necessary across your business. So that's why automation has really become a key to survival. And what may have been a nice to have in the past must now be an essential component of your business strategy. For our customers, automation spans these 5 key areas across the value chain. Automation is used to integrate and enrich data for technical processes, improve operational efficiency across the organization for core business processes, increase productivity and morale of the employees, and ensure timely and accurate and consistent data to customers. Automation allows you to focus on the problems that matter and not mundane and repetitive tasks. So you can streamline those workflows, focus on the things that are important, and automate the things that you know need to get done, but you don't want to focus all of your time on. But that being said, automation is not easy. It is really hard, and it's key to your survival, but it's difficult. So, and automation at scale is even more difficult. And the reason I say this is because there's a study from HFS Research And that study found that less than 10% of enterprises have a unified enterprise-wide approach to automation. And why is that? Let's take a look. So when you look at the current state of automation and integration technology, things can get ugly trying to solve for all these different kinds of challenges. There are simply too many tools, each intended to solve a different problem and intended to be used by different people with different skill sets. That means you have very siloed and lean teams that cannot possibly deliver on all the projects. And these bottlenecks result in failed projects, missed opportunities, and ultimately frustrated stakeholders. The sheer number of different technologies means that there is just no company-wide approach or standard resulting in brittle, non-scalable automations. Traditionally, companies attempted to solve this problem pulling in two different directions. One direction is the IT-centric approach. So that's robust and scalable integrations built by dedicated IT teams and SMEs. This approach was pioneered by legacy tools such as Boomi, Informatica, MuleSoft. You might have heard of some of these. And these implementations are reliable for sure, and less prone to risk, but the reliance on the IT teams results in a delivery bottleneck, creating lots of friction between the business and that IT team. The other direction is the business process centric approach, driven by business agility and rapid delivery. However, they face the challenge of developing automations with very limited governance and IT practices, creating brittle integrations that are difficult to maintain and may compromise security. It ultimately loses the value of strategic automations. So Workato, what we are, is the middle ground between simple and powerful, which gives you the best of both worlds: a scalable, secure approach to automation that is not slowed down by a reliance on IT teams. With Workato, you can realize the benefits of the power of integration platforms and simplicity of consumer-oriented applications intended to democratize those automations. So when we talk about Jira specifically, and running, your Jira, all those different business processes you run through Jira, let's take those business processes and design them. Not necessarily, let's not have the developers that are using that tool spend even more time trying to automate those Jira processes. Let's give them their time back by democratizing those integrations, allowing them to build those workflows that, and those in this case that we'll see incident remediation flows much more quickly, and then and give them more time back to actually getting through that backlog of Jira tasks, and building and iterating on the things they need to do. So I think now that we have a better understanding of the problems that Workato is trying to solve, let's take a look at how Workato's platform and how we offer our customers a better approach and solution. So Workato provides an entirely new paradigm of integrations-led automation, which allows our customers to unify all these critical business processes into a single platform. Our low-code, no-code platform allows anyone to build automations while still meeting the requirements of both IT and business users, or in this case, the business users being the Jira users, of course. This, in conjunction with our serverless cloud-based architecture, which scales elastically, keeps our total cost of ownership very low compared to other platforms, and removes that delivery bottleneck. Automation at scale with Workato results in a simplified experience for your delivery teams and a unified experience for all stakeholders, resulting in a faster time to market and more business outcomes that are achieved. So I've used this term sort of a few times in this presentation, but what exactly is automation at scale? So one person's definition, Mark Settle. So Mark Settle is a former CIO of Okta. He defines automation at scale as, quote, a company's ability to obtain tangible business outcomes from the application of automation technology to the smallest tasks within an individual functional department and the broadest processes that extend across the entire company. There are a lot of long words in that sentence. So simply put, automation at scale allows a company to achieve meaningful business outcomes from the smallest tasks to the most mission critical. And to get there, Workato takes a crawl, walk, run approach, starting with incubation to acceleration and ultimately institutionalization. And so today, what we're going to focus on, because we don't have enough time to cover all those, but we're going to focus on the incubation stage with a recipe that describes how Workato can accelerate your Jira incident remediation. So what is the incubation phase of this process, of this process of achieving automation at scale? The incubation phase involves adopting what I call an automation first mentality. This phase involves identifying easy wins that can quickly demonstrate business value, starting with a simple recipe. So recipes are the basic building block of automation in the Workato platform, and involves a business event, such as a record being updated in your vulnerability scanning tool, such as, in this case, we're going to look at a tool that I've used in the past called Digital Shadow Searchlight, and a business outcome such as a notification to your ticketing system, in this case, Jira, of course, this being JiraCon, and if the update meets a certain condition. So this is a very common security incident remediation case that allows our customers to track and route business critical security incidents directly to the right teams so they can act more quickly, right? If you spend less time trying to triage and parse and get the ticket to the right team, you'll ultimately be able to more efficiently remediate and fix those problems at scale. And you'll spend less time trying to worry about how that process is going to look, because you can not only set up that process very quickly, but you can also change it very quickly when you need to. So to demonstrate this, let's dive into the platform and build a quick recipe together that reflects this diagram. So in this demo, in the incubation demo, we're going to start, like I said, we're going to start small with the automation first mentality. We're going to be taking a look at the highlights of the Workato workspace. So what does the architecture look like? How do we organize things, high level features, things like that. Then we're going to look at the recipe itself. So we have a recipe that we're not going to be building from scratch because it's going to take too long. So I'm going to start with a pre-built recipe, and I'm going to walk you through it. And then I want to talk about another cool feature, which is some of our connectivity options. So beyond just Jira, right? What do we have there that you can use out of the box that's going to help accelerate and not only, because Searchlight, connecting from Searchlight to Jira is great, but there's obviously, that's one small piece of a much larger set of business processes, and it's important that you see the different connectivity options that Workato has so that we can help solve those for you. Cool. So let's go ahead and look at this demo here. Great. Okay, so I'm logged into Workato. This is my Workato homepage. When I log in, this is what I see. And on the left side here, we'll start there. And this is our project and folder structure. So within a Workato workspace, you're able to easily organize different recipes that you build into specific projects. And within those projects have specific folders be up below that. And obviously organizing these things, organizing your different automations is really important, but where it really becomes powerful is within our team management feature. So Workato has a very robust set of role-based access controls that also apply to specific projects within your workspace. So for example, this admin role here gives me access to every single project in my workspace. However, I might have different resources that need to access specific projects, and those projects might be something like, they work on specific, maybe that workspace is only for my automations for a specific part of my tech stack, right? I have a specific, one is for my security team, one is for my bug team, right? One is for, platform enhancement team. Those are all different teams that have different sets of recipes. So I'll give them different access to different projects and folders within Workato so I can segment them. And then within those folders, they also have different permissions. So for example, maybe an IT administrator has access to do anything. They have full admin controls, but then maybe a developer only has the ability to create new recipes or turn recipes on and off, but they can't actually create new recipes or edit them. You can segment out users very, very easily like that through the role-based access control. So that's really cool. I also have my list of all my recipes that are within this account. So I have in this case, I have a couple, we'll have the recipe that we go through, but I have lots of other recipes that I've built that are living in this account. And those recipes are also using different connections. So within any Workato account, I can have multiple connections to lots of different third-party applications. I have ones to, I have a Facebook connection here. I have a ServiceNow connection here. I have Procore. I also have connections to databases in here. And as I build my recipe, I leverage these connections to help not only obviously move data in and out of that application, but also it can help me connecting to that third-party application will help inform me as the user what is going on inside that account. So for example, if I have a custom form set up on my Jira record, whatever that record might be, we can use that Workato connection at design time in the recipe, as we'll see, to actually inform me about the schema structure. Like what does that custom form look like inside, and what does that custom form look like inside Jira, so I can easily map data into that custom form. I don't have to do anything special to account for that. I don't have to do anything special to account for that customization that's within that Jira account. So that's pretty much the high level of how all this works, of how everything is stored here. There are other features here, such as the ability to, it's not enabled in this account, but we also have the ability to do things, set up different dev and sandbox and production environments. And you can promote these recipes from one environment to another very easily. We have a whole set of controls that allow you to promote things from your development to your production environment, and those are totally logically separated as well. So that makes it really easy to fit in with whatever your SDLC is in terms of this tool. Let's go ahead, now that we've talked through sort of the high level stuff about the Workato recipe editor, the homepage. Let's actually go and look at a recipe itself. So as I mentioned, this is a pre-built recipe that I have here already. And let's take a look at this. So this is, like I said, this is a pre-built recipe I already have. And what's going on here is that I am syncing what's called triage item events from Searchlight. So Searchlight is a vulnerability management tool that is built by this company called Digital Shadows. I built a connector to Digital Shadows, I guess in this case, the Searchlight API, and I'm able to listen for new triage item events that are coming out of that Searchlight. So those triage item events are very non-specific. They can be things like security vulnerabilities. They can be things like issues with my code. There can be even things like, I think they even have the ability to listen for like vendor risk and things like that. So whenever there's a triage item event, I can capture that in my workflow, my recipe, and then process that through these business action steps within Workato. So let's see. So we'll start with the trigger, and then we'll actually go into the actual actions, what's going on here. So this is, like I said, a connector that I built. So Workato has the ability. So we have many hundreds of what we call platform connectors that are built and maintained by the Workato product team. But another cool feature that Workato has that not every other iPaaS is going to have is the ability for you to build your own custom connectors using your SDK. So what I did is I basically took the Searchlight API and I built my own connector within Workato. I built my own connector against that API, and now I can bring that in here as its own custom connector. So that's what I did. And I built a trigger within that connector code. And this trigger, there are a few different kinds of trigger types in Workato. There are trigger types that are non-specific to a connector. So you can set up a trigger that is like a scheduled trigger that runs every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or every hour, every day, like a cron timer. We have triggers that allow recipes to be triggered from external sources. So you can set up a recipe to be called, like you can basically set this up to have an API endpoint. So we can set this up. It'll generate our own custom URL for that. Recipe. We can call that endpoint whenever we want and trigger the recipe on our own. We can set up whatever parameters we need as well. But the most common kind, and the kind that we're using here, is a is a trigger that is built into an application, specific to a connector to a third-party application. So as you can see, this is a trigger that's specific to new triage item event. So when a new triage item event is created in Searchlight, we capture that in the trigger. This is also a polling style trigger. So there are a couple different kinds of triggers that are specific to applications. There are polling style triggers like this one, where we reach out to Searchlight every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever our polling period is, and have them tell us what has changed. So that's obviously initiated from the Workato side. We're also able to easily do things like capture webhooks. So I don't have it set up in this particular connector, but I believe that Searchlight has the ability for us to send webhooks when there's triage item events, and we can configure this recipe to listen for those webhooks. So and then process those webhooks as separate events and push those through the recipe. That's also a very common thing that we can do, either on a static or dynamic level. So basically, the end result is that whatever kind of business event we're looking for, we can usually capture that in the Workato recipe and process that through the rest of the steps. So we have our trigger, right? We have our trigger set up, and now we want to start actually mapping data from that trigger into, eventually we want to create an issue in Jira with it. What we're doing here is we're actually doing some intermediary steps. So we're calling basically another application, or we're calling, sorry, the Searchlight API again to essentially enhance the data that we got about the triage item event, because this triage item event payload, right, is very lightweight. It only tells us very high level information. It basically just gives us like an ID and I think a couple other things in that response. So we're using a couple other intermediary steps to basically enhance the data to make sure that we have everything that we need that we want to sync to Jira. So that's what we're doing here, is we're basically searching for an alert based on the alert ID that we retrieve from the trigger. And then once we've basically got all the data that we want, then we're going to map it into the input of the Jira step. So let's show you what that looks like. So when I'm actually creating an issue in Jira, it's really easy. So that's the action here. I'm using our Jira connector. And there's a bunch of different actions I can take. So basically these are all CRUD actions, but there's some special things like downloading attachments, searching for users or user details, searching for issues, using JQL to search against Jira, things like that. But in this case, I'm just going to do a very simple create an issue in Jira. When I set up this step, now the first thing I need to do is select my my project issue type. So what that'll do is that'll actually inform the different fields that are available here for me to map to. So let's say I have a custom field here called Searchlight triage event incident ID. I can simply, if that's in my Jira issue on the form, it'll simply bring it in here automatically because we're already connected to my Jira account here. So it'll automatically bring that in and I can map to it very easily. The way that the mapping works is that basically I have what we call my recipe data tree. So as I build my recipe, you can think of each one of these steps like an API call, essentially, because that's what they are, right? We're making an API call to, in this case, Searchlight, and then we're going to receive a response back from that endpoint. As I receive responses back from that endpoint, I essentially take, or not I, but Workato takes those and maps them and creates this really easy to sift through and parse human readable data tree of different data pills. So for example, I have my list of triage items that I got from my search in step 3. I can search the field I want, and let's say that I want to map in my title of my issue, and I want to map it to let's go back to step 3, the title of my triage item that I got from my search. I can simply drag this over, and that's how I map my data from my output of digital shadows into my input of my Jira issue creation. So really easy to map. And the cool thing is that because I have access to the full recipe data tree at any time, I can map in data from multiple different applications. Let's say, for example, I want to go grab some Salesforce data about this. Maybe this is related to some customer data. So I want to grab some data from Salesforce about this customer and also put that into Jira. I can run an additional search here, additional step to go search for Salesforce, and then map that data into my Jira issue step. So multi-threaded, multi-step inserts are really easy with the way that this mapper works. And because of the way that this mapping functionality is designed, really complex, like really deep level schemas, like let's say I have like lots of like really nested objects, like that would be probably like, and it had a bunch of fields. If I was going to build that on my own, right, like natively, that's going to be really nasty to try and parse, right? Because that can be so different from one user to from one account to another. It's going to be tough. So what we do is we make it really, really easy to find those and map from those really complex schemas, which is really nice. And then finally, of course, I have a whole bunch of custom fields here that I can reference if I need to. So these are all custom fields that are already on the on this Jira ticket. I guess this is a Jira issue, is what we're calling it. And the cool thing is that because I'm already connected to Jira, like I said, we can do that dynamic schema discovery at design time in the recipe to pull in all this custom field schema that I can then map to if I want to. A couple other things about what's going on in this recipe. Of course, we can do things like conditional logic here. So for example, if I only want to create this issue in Jira if there's an alert ID present within my triage item that I find, I can simply design my conditional logic here, just like you would in code, to only perform these actions if this condition is true. So if my alert ID is present, it tells you where the data source is. So it's coming from step 3. It's coming from this basically this part of the data schema structure. If it's present, then perform these actions basically. And the cool thing is that where the faster incident remediation comes in, the value here is that I can make this as complex as I want. And I can map this whatever way that I want. I can have lots of different use cases within this same recipe. So for example, let's say I want to send it to this team when the issue type is X, but I want to send it to a different team when the issue type is Y. So I can easily set up that logic tree here within the recipe, which is really, really easily. And that's going to allow me to route these incidents to the right teams whenever possible. And the cool thing is that if those teams require a different kind of change, right? They're saying, hey, like when you send a ticket to us, we actually need you to go use a different project type within Jira, or we need you to map to a specific custom field that's in our project. They can easily go in here, edit the mapping in this recipe in like 2 minutes and change that. There's no need to like involve IT. There's no need to spend any extra development resources to do that. And that's really, really cool. Let's see. I'm just doing a time check. Cool. We're about 30 minutes in. I'll probably, yeah. Okay. We're going to keep going for another few minutes and then we'll get back to the presentation. So one other cool thing that I can do is I can also add to this functionality by doing things like posting a message to Slack. So let's say, for example, I don't only want to create an issue in Jira, I also want to alert a team in a different way, right? With a different Slack message. And that is fully configurable as well. So I select the channel, private, public channel, whatever I need to, and I can easily map in data from my output of my digital shadow step into my input of my Slack message that I want to send very, very easily. And that's really, really cool too. So I can not only take this really cool workflow that allows me to remediate those incidents more quickly and route them more quickly, I can also very easily add to this functionality whenever I need to. If a specific team says, hey, we actually want to manage these through Slack and not necessarily all the way through Jira, we could do that as well. Or I want to do something custom in another application, I can do that as well. So really, really easy to change these around. One last thing I'll talk about is error monitoring. So you'll notice that all these steps are within this sort of error monitoring loop, this block here. And what this does is sort of acts like a try-catch loop. So any steps that are within this error monitoring block, if they fail, I can do a couple different things with that. Let's say, for example, Jira is down for some reason, or Slack is down for some reason, or another application is down. What I can do is I can define retry logic, or if I've hit something like a rate limit within those applications, I can easily just retry, have a wait built in there. But if I still have an error, I can then take that error and then parse it separately down here and then perform other, in this case, remediation on the recipe itself, right? Incident remediation on the recipe itself. So I can create another Jira ticket here, right? I can easily just add a new step in Jira using our Jira connector and create a new Jira ticket when this recipe fails, so the right team can go back and find out why this recipe failed and retry it or fix it. if needed. Okay, so we're about 30 minutes in, so let's go ahead and go back. We have about 5 minutes left, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So let me go ahead and save this. I'll exit. And now let's go back to the slideshow. So as you saw very quickly, you could very theoretically put that together in just a few minutes. We were able to create a simple recipe to integrate Digital Shadow's Searchlight and Jira with data mapping and persistent reusable service connections. So we saw that how you can build automations much faster with no technical skills required. Right? I didn't write any code there. Right? I don't have to know what JSON is in order to build that integration between Jira and Digital Shadows. Very, very easy. I just need a solid understanding of those tools that, like Jira, that you guys use every single day, and a clear event and an outcome. And as you can probably imagine, with several of these simple recipes, you could see massive gains in the way that your teams are basically the way that your teams handle different vulnerabilities or incidents through that Jira service tool. So basically, we're taking the power of both these vulnerability management tools, these alerting tools, and the power of a service tool like Jira, of a ticketing tool like Jira, and combining them together into something that's greater than the sum of its parts. So why do customers choose Workato in the end? Workato empowers our customers to build automations much faster, is the bottom line. Recipes, as you saw, are easy and intuitive and don't require any technical skills to build. Our serverless architecture means that you don't need to worry about computational resources or upkeep of servers or software, right? I can just simply turn the recipe on and it runs, and it scales to meet demand. If I have 5,000 incidents, God forbid, that come out or triage item events that come out of Searchlight in 10 seconds, I can easily scale my recipe to handle those very easily without any special customization. And Workato customers are able to do more with wall-to-wall automations across different teams, departments, and use cases. This goes beyond just Jira, right? Jira is obviously why we're here, and it's really cool. But this is way bigger than just that. Workato allows our customers to democratize automation integration to more builders without requiring specialized developer and infrastructure skills, as you saw. All these great benefits while meeting their enterprise needs with, of course, enterprise class security, extensibility, and high availability that you guys obviously expect and demand. And that's it. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. I'm going to open it up to the floor with questions now. I see that we do have a few questions from attendees, so I think I'm just going to go through each one of these one by one and answer them. So can we set the connection to Jira Insight directly? Yes. So that's definitely something that's built in. That's very easy to do. I don't know if we have a connector to Jira Insight or if that's something that might have to be built custom, but yeah, I have no doubt that we'll be able to connect to Jira Insight very easily. Next question, can you have more than one application connected and send info to Jira? Let's say get info from Salesforce and update Jira issues field. Yeah, I think I covered this in the demo, but yes, absolutely. You can have as many applications as you want within a recipe. And so you can map, you can enhance the data in any number of ways that you want. Sorry, you can't, sorry, my dog is barking. You can't have, for example, more than one trigger. You can't have, for example, more than one trigger, but you could enhance that data with as number of recipe and as many number of steps as you want. So let's see. The next question is deployment options available for the Workato. So Workato itself cannot be deployed behind your firewall. We don't have an on-premise deployment of Workato. We do have on-premise connections. So we can't host Workato itself, the Workato platform, anywhere but workato.com. But we do have the ability to connect to on-premise applications through our on-premise agent, which doesn't require you to open any ports. It's just simply a very lightweight script that you just install behind your firewall with like a YAML file that tells that script how to that tells that script how to run, and then where to find the right resources. So for example, file systems or applications that are behind that firewall, and then establishes an outbound only connection basically up into the Workato cloud so that it can be processed. Next question, can you copy these structures and change the target environment? Dev, stage, prod? Yes, exactly, right? So I didn't cover this in the demo, but we have a whole set of what's called a feature called Workato environments that allows you to basically promote these different structures or recipes or sets of recipes, even whole projects. It's based on the project structure or folder structure. Basically promote each project from at its current state from, for example, dev to production, and in a very like secure and scalable and checked way. Follow-up question, can you massage the data before it's into Jira, like math operations? Yes, absolutely you can. So I did not cover this in the demo because of time, but we absolutely have many tools available for you to massage that data. So we have tools called Formula Mode that allow you to apply whitelisted Ruby methods directly to those different fields at the field level. So you can do those transformations there. We also allow you to do things like if you have really advanced use cases, 99% of the time Formula Mode is enough. But if you have really advanced use cases, you could do things like inject your own code. So we do have like Ruby, Python connectors, etc., that allow you to inject your own code into the platform that where you can do that transformation there as well. If you're a developer and that's what you're more comfortable with, we have tools that allow you to do that as well. And that is basically okay. One last question. Authentication type supported by Workato for connecting to other apps. So we support pretty much everything because the connector behind the connector SDK is basically just code. So everything from super simple like basic auth to header API key auth to OAuth 2, all different kinds of OAuth 2, client credentials, auth grant. We also do things like I've seen crazy multi-step auth or JWT. We support all those things as well, very easily to within the connectors. We support all kinds. Any other questions before we adjourn? All right, thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate it. Let me go back to the closing slide here. So thank you for being a part of this presentation called Faster Incident Remediation in Jira. If you have any questions for me or you want to get in contact with Workato, send an email to linda.tatzner@workato.com. She's our partner manager for Trundle, and she will be very, very happy to help you either get a demo, get into the sales process if you're interested to learn more. And of course, add me on LinkedIn, right? I'm available to answer questions. If you just have a couple follow-ups or you just want to network with me, please add me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Brian J. Weinstein. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I had a great time and hope to see you guys as Workato users very, very soon. Thank you.